In previous session, we have seen different types of exceptions. Okay, but I didn't get a chance to look into this one. But tomorrow's session, I'll get back to you on how we can get element not visible and element not selectable exceptions. So these two things I'll try to get back to you on in tomorrow's session. So apart from that, uh, we have seen different types of exceptions in previous session. How we can generate stale element when the stale element reference exception will be thrown, and how we can handle it, and when we get element not interactable, when we will get no such exception, and when we will get timeout exception. So all these things we have seen in previous session, and when we will get session not found. So whenever we get these kind of exceptions, what is the fix? How we can overcome those exceptions? So all those things we have seen in previous session. Okay, now in today's session, we will see how to read data from Excel sheet. How to read data from Excel sheet. Okay, before that, first we'll try to create an Excel of in the format XLSX. Then we will start working with these interfaces. Okay. Let me create a new Excel sheet. Okay. Here I'll give, so this entire thing, we call it as a workbook. In this, consider a workbook as a book. In that, if you want to add number of sheets, you can add it here. Just click on plus, you can add it the number of sheets. And if you want to rename these sheets also, you can rename. Suppose if I want to give this one as student, okay, I can give it. So whatever for this sheets, if you want to give any name, you can give it. And this complete thing, we call it as a workbook. Workbook will contain the sheets, sheet will contain the rows, and rows will contain the cells. This is one cell, this is one cell. Group of cells, we call it as a row. Group of rows, we call it as a sheet, and group of sheets, we call it as a workbook. Okay, now let me create some sample data here. The name and age. Okay, I'll give some names: ABC, whose age is 18, so XYZ, whose age is 20, LMN, whose age is 15, like this. Okay, this is my test data. I want to test this data, so I have saved it in this Excel sheet. And now let me save this one. Okay, I'll save this as in the format of XLSX. Okay, I'll use this XLSX format to save the data. Okay, let me save this and give the name. So where I want to store it, I'll give the location. So I want to store it in the current resources folder. So I have selected this one, and now I'll give test. Okay, so this is the test file. Let me save this one. Use Excel 2007 365 format. So I have saved it. Now, if you refresh your project in the resources folder. So this is the resources folder. As of now, let me delete this one. I don't want this file here. Okay. Now, if you refresh the project, observe under resources folder, you can see the Excel sheet which we have saved. So the test you will be able to see here. If you want to open with let me take text editor or something. Sorry. Let me open with the default editor, system editor. Okay, so this is the file that we have created just now. This is the sheet name and this is a workbook. Okay, so let me close this one, and now we'll try to access it. How we'll see how to read the data from this Excel and how we can write the data to this Excel sheet. All these things we will see. So let me close all. Now let me create one class here. New class, Excel operations. Let's use this one. Now, first thing what we have to do is, first we have to read that file in the form of an input stream. Before that, we need to create objects for all these interfaces. So what are the interfaces? So these are the four interfaces, right? First, we need to create objects for all of these interfaces. So let me try to create all the interfaces now, the objects for this interfaces. So how I can create is, as I have saved it in XLSX format, so I will use XSSF workbook. Okay, before explaining this one, I want to tell you one more thing. I have done an update in the pom.xml. In pom.xml, I have added two dependencies. So one is org Apache POI. I have added this dependency, and the other one is, so which is a normal POI one. The other one is POI OOXML. So one is for a handling XLS. The other one is for handling XLSX format. So these are the two dependencies that I have added. I'll show you where you can get it in Maven repository. Just search with Apache POI. Um, oh, 1 second. Mm, mm, What is this? This click an image which looks like a lion. Not, yeah, yeah. Let me try my website. Check in VN repository. So search with the Apache POI. So you will get these dependencies. From there, you need to select org.apache.poi, which contains POI. This first one, with this dependency, you can handle XLS format. If you want for XLSX format, you can use this one, POI hyphen OOXML. So these are the two dependencies that you need to add. Okay, so I have added this one, and I have used the older version only. So for Apache POI, I have used 4.1.2. This one I have used where there are more number of reviews. So I have used this one. And for Apache POI XX OVO XML, I have used 4.1.1, where I can also use 4.1.2. Anything you can use from these two. Okay. So these two dependencies I need to add in order to perform the Excel operations. Okay. Now let me use XSSF workbook from org.apache.voi.xssf user model. Okay. So let me create an object for this one. I'm creating everything outside of this class, right? Outside of this method, sorry, outside of this method. So if I want to use this object inside a method, let me first create this one. Inside this static method, I have to declare it as a static variable, right? Then only I can access it in the static methods. Now let me create an object for XSF sheet. Let me create XSF row static XSF cell is equal. Okay. Okay. So why we are using the static keywords? If you are declaring some variable as a global variable. So now I am defining these variables, these objects globally, I am declaring them. So if I want to use them in a static method, then definitely I have to use the static keyword. So without static keyword, I cannot use them inside the inside this static methods, right? We have already seen this concept, static variables. So now I'm done. Let me define one more variable here. Okay, let me take a string variable. So static string path, which is equal to the path where this Excel is present. So I will write like this: resources slash test dot xlsx. Okay, this is the path where my Excel is stored. Okay, this is done. And now let me create objects for two more things: static file input stream. Okay, fi static file output stream fo. So for reading the data from Excel, we need input stream. For writing the data to the Excel, we need file output stream. So these two things. So finally, I have defined 7 variables as static. So with these variables, we are done. We can start working with the Excel. Okay. Now, in this main method, first let us try to open that Excel which is present in that path. So what I will do now, file input stream fi is equal to new file input stream of the location of the path where this Excel resides. So we have stored it in a path variable. So I use like this, right? Now there is a chance that this line may throw an exception. This is a suspected line. What exception it might throw? It might throw file not found exception. So what I'll do, I'll surround it with try catch block. Instead of throwing, I'll handle it in try catch block, or simply I can add throws declaration. Anything I can do it. So what I'll do, I will add a throws declaration. Okay. So there is a chance that this piece of code may throw an exception. So I have used this one. If this file may throw file not found exception. And now once the file input stream is done, we need to initiate the workbook, right? So we have started the file input stream. We have opened the this particular file which is present in this location in the form of an input stream. Now we need to convert this input stream into the form of workbook, right? So let me convert it to workbook. Workbook is equal to new XSSF workbook of file input stream. right? So let me take new XSSF workbook of file input stream, which is F5. Okay, that means we are loading this file input stream in the form of a workbook. First, we need to load the particular file in a location using the file input stream. Once we loaded it in the form of a file input stream, we have to convert that input stream to XSF workbook. So this line will do that. Okay. Now this line may throw an exception of IO exception, input output exception. So we will be handling it using throws declaration. Okay. So these two are handled now. So once we loaded the file in the form of a workbook, then we need to go through each and every sheet, Okay. So first sheet is equal to workbook dot get sheet. You have a method called get sheet. Here in get sheet method, you can get the sheets in two different ways. You can give the sheet name or you can give the index. You have two methods here. You can get the sheet by using the sheet name or by using the index. So I can use the sheet name. We have given the sheet name as student. So I can give it like this. Student is the sheet name. Okay. Or here you can create one more variable like the static sheet name. Sheet name is equal to, you can define the student like this, sheet name here, and simply you can use the sheet name. Or you can give the index also. So index will always start from 0. So if you want to access the first sheet, you can give the index as 0. Wait, there is some thing with this. So why it is throwing? Okay, static. This is a string, right? Static string sheet name is equal to student. So this is how you can access. Other way, you can simply write like this workbook dot get sheet of index also you can give. Get sheet at index 0. So it will get the sheet which is present at the index 0. So index 0 means first sheet, index 1 means second sheet, index 3, index 2 means third sheet. So this is how it will work. You can get the sheets in either of the way. So let me comment this one. And the sheet name is student. We gave it correctly. Yes. Okay. So now till here, we are good with sheet. We came to the correct sheet. From here, we need to read the data. Read data from Excel. For that, let me create a method. Read data. So this is the method I'm creating to read the data and I'm calling it from here. So create method read data. This also will be a static method. Okay, I'm using a static method to read the data. In this method, now we will start reading the data from the Excel sheet. So what we have to do here, first, we need to get the rows. We need to get all the rows in this sheet. So till here, we are in the current sheet, which we are looking for. We are in the sheet where we have to read the data. So till sheet we are now. So from there, we need to navigate through each and every row. We have to iterate through each and every row and print the data in the output. So for that, in order to iterate through each and every row, we will be going to use iterator of row. So for this, I'll create an object. XR is equal to sheet dot iterator. Okay. So this will help in iterating through. Let me import this iterator from java.util. And let me import this row from org.apache.py. So there is a difference between this normal row and XSSF row. The iterator will return in the form of rows. We need to convert this row to XSSF row. So iterator will return the rows in this format, in row format. We have to convert it to XSSF row format. So how we can do it is, just observe, while XR dot has next, we are iterating through each and every row. And now here we have defined XSF row, right? So we need to convert this row from the iterator to this row. So row is equal to typecasting we have to do. We have to convert it to XSSF row XR dot next. XR dot next means it will return the first row in the format of this row. We need to convert this row to XSSF row. For that, we are using the typecasting. We are converting. XR dot next will return the data in the form of row. We need to convert it to XSSF row. So that is why we are using the typecasting here. We are converting this row from this one. Iterator will always return the rows in this format. In order to access the rows in XLSX format, we have to convert it to XSSF row. That is why we are doing this typecasting here. And now this variable row, this object row will now contain the data of each and every, for the first, as of now, it will contain first row. For the next iteration, it will contain the second row. So the row information it will contain. This variable row will now contain the information of the rows. Okay. And now using this row, we need to iterate through each and every cell. So the cell means here, the row means it will contain all this information, all the row information. From in this row, we need to iterate through each and every cell. How many cells we have in this row? We have to iterate through all those cell information also. So for that, we'll be going to create one more iterator. Iterator here, you need to take cell. Okay. So in this cell, what we are, let me create an object xc is equal to row dot cell iterator. Let me import this cell. So iterator will always return, let me import from org approach. So iterator will return the data in the cell, but we need to convert it to XSSF cell, XSSF cell. For that also, we have to use one more while loop here. While loop xc dot has next. Use this method. If it has next, then what we have to do? We have to convert this to, so cell is equal to typecast XSSF cell. Here xc dot next. Okay, this is the conversion that we need to do. And now in this cell, it will have each and every cell information. First, it will hold this name, then it will hold the age. So if you have any number of data like this, if you have any number, also all this data information will be held now in the cell. Okay. So now cell will contain that information. We need to print it in the output. For that, what we are going to do is, so in this cell, we may have any data type, right? So this is a string data type. This is an integer data type. So here I can have floating double data type. And here I may have Boolean type. So we have to first switch among the data type. First switch among the data type. What is the data type of the cell? So what is the data type? And based on the data type, we need to get the information. Right? So for that, what we will do, we'll use a switch case for switching among the data types. Okay, switch between the cell dot get cell type. Okay. So first we need to get the type of the cell. So if it is, and now I am writing the cases, if it is a string, what we have to do? System.out.println cell dot get string cell value. Okay. And now break this case. If the cell type is numeric, what I have to do? System.out.println cell dot get numeric cell value. Like this, you have to define. Break this case, and if the case, if it is a Boolean type, okay, system.out.println cell dot get Boolean cell value. Like this, you have different types, even the date format. So you can get the date value. So if here, if you have any date, so 10/3 slash 1990. So this is a date, right? Date format. If you want to get the date format, you have the format here. So whatever data type you want, you can add it here and you can get the information like this. Now here it is a Boolean cell value. Now break this case. Case if it is date format, system.out.println, cell dot get date cell value. I think it is system date or calendar we have, I think. Let me check. So this cell types also what, so you have Boolean, error, formula, numeric, let me check. There is some, if you have formulas also you can get. For date also there is some type. Blank, Boolean, error. Think you can get it in string, and finally you can get this in date cell value only. 1 second, let me check. So you can get this date also in the form of a string. So in case string only, you can handle this date cell value also. Okay. So here you have 7 different types. If you see, you can write 7 cases. So if it is none, you can do that. If it is blank, you can handle it. If it is Boolean, or if it is an error, if it is a formula, if it is a string. So like this, you can handle these things. So date format, you can handle it in the string type only. So here only, if the data type is string, here itself you can handle it. Even date format also. Like this, you have different methods. If you click mouse over here, so it is string cell value, Boolean cell value, numeric cell value. Uh, check other data types. Date cell value, if there is any error, the error value, if you want to get the formula also, you can get. Okay. So all these are related to Excel cell values. And by default, if you want to add anything, default case, if you want to add print invalid cell type. Okay. So now your switch case is done. Instead of printing it in new line, okay, first let me print, then I'll show you how we can modify this one. Okay, now reading the data from Excel is done. So first what we are doing, first we are reading the data in the form of a file input stream. Okay, file input stream. To this stream, we are passing the path of the file, where the file is located. And now next, so the data will be read in the form of an input stream. We have to convert this input stream into workbook. So what we are doing, workbook is equal to new file input, new workbook of, new XSSF workbook of this input stream F5. So now this file input stream, we are converting it to a workbook, and now our workbook is ready. Once the workbook is ready, we have to navigate through the sheets. So I want to read the data from sheet 1. So I will read sheet S is equal to, sheet is equal to workbook dot get sheet. Workbook dot get sheet. So you can use any one method. You can give the sheet name here. You can give either sheet name, or you can use one more method, get sheet at, where you can provide the index. So anything you can use. I have used the sheet name, or you can simply use the index also. So at that particular index, whatever the sheet is there, that will be loaded into this object. Okay, now our sheet is ready. If you want to read the data from that particular sheet, what we have to do? We have to iterate through each and every row of that sheet. So in order to get that each and every row, what we are doing, we are iterating. We are using row iterator. This we call it as a row iterator, which will return the rows in the form of row. Row is a class. So in this format, it will return. So XR is equal to what we are doing, sheet dot iterator. So it will iterator. It will return all the rows in the form of a row, but we need to convert this to XSSF row. So for that, what we are doing, in order to iterate through all these rows, we are giving a while loop while XR dot has next. If it has next, go into this loop, and what we are doing here, we are converting this row into XSSF row. How we are doing? Row is equal to XSSF row. We are typecasting, converting this XR dot next. I think you are clear. If you have any doubts still here, you can ask. Okay, now this row will hold the information of individual rows. So for the first iteration, it will hold the data of the first row. For the second iteration, it will hold the data of second row, like that. Row information, it will hold, right? And now we have to iterate through each and every cell in this row. In this first row, we have to iterate through each and every cell. In second row also, we need to iterate for each and every row, we need to iterate through each and every cell. For that, we are creating one more iterator. This time we create a cell iterator. Iterator of type cell. For this, I am creating an object XC is equal to row dot cell iterator. Okay. This cell iterator will return the data in the form of cell. We need to convert it to XSSF cell. For that, what we will do? First, we will use a while loop to iterate through these things. While XC dot has next, it will iterate through each and every cell. Convert this cell to XSSF cell. So this is the small cell is equal to XSSF cell with XC dot next. We are converting this one. And now what we are doing, we will be first checking the type of this cell. For that, we are using a switch case. Cell dot get cell type. It will return the type of the cell, the information which is stored in the Excel. If it is if it is of type string, so we will be writing the cases accordingly. So case, if it is a string, how we can get the data from that? If it is string, you will be using cell dot get string value. Get string cell value. This is the method that you can use to get the string value. If you are using numeric, you have to use the method. If it is numeric type, you can use the method get numeric cell value. So these are the methods that you need to use for different types. Okay. So first we are iterating through rows. In this row, for each and every row, we are creating one more iterator for cell. We are iterating through this each and every cell. First, we are getting the type. If it is based on the type, we are getting the cell values. Clear, all of you? Any doubts in this one? How we are reading the data from Excel? Any doubts? Is it clear or confusing? Dinesh, Karthik, Mahendra, Pratima, Gnanesh. Is it clear? The thing is, first, it will be confused, but you need to practice once, then only you will understand where and all you need to make the changes. Okay, so now let me run this program. If you run the program like this, you will get the data in, it will not look like the data which you see in the Excel. So let me run this one. See, it printed like this. I want the data, if I want the data to be printed as how it is present here, I can simply make few changes here like this. Instead of print till n, can just use print here. And once the cells are done for the next iteration of a row, so I'll use system dot. So once for each and every cell, I will use this differentiator. And for each and every row, I'll give a new line. Okay. So now let me run this program and show you. Somewhere. Okay, got it. Here also it should be like this. Let me run it. So this is a column differentiator and these are rows. Okay. This is how you can get the data from Excel and print it in the console. So why I have used print here is, so for each and every, once it prints one cell value, it will go to the new line. So for each and every cell, it is going to the new line. So I don't want to use println at this point. So first I want all the cells to be printed in a single line. After that one particular row is completed, I want to go to the new line. So here only I used println. Okay. So for each and every cell, if I don't use this differentiator, it will print continuously. That you cannot identify difference between one cell and another cell. So that for that reason, I have used this differentiator after each and every cell. Once one cell got printed, for the next cell, I want to use this differentiator. So I use this pipeline thing. Okay. So this is how you can read the data from the Excel sheet. Any doubts till this point? Suppose if you want to get the date format here, let me. Okay, before doing this, first we will try to write data, and then for a particular cell, how we can do that, I'll show you. So till here, if you have any doubts, okay, shall we move to how to write the data to Excel? Okay.
Whatever we enter the data in the Excel sheet, that data only display, right?
Yes, from this data only, from this Excel only, we are reading the data.
Okay.
For our test cases, whatever test data we want, we will be storing it in Excel like this. And you need to read this data in order to perform your test cases, right? So we will be
Okay.
reading the data from Excel like this.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's see how we can write the data to Excel sheet. Let me create one more method. Write data. So before reading the data, let me write data Excel sheet. Let me create that method. Here, this is the method for writing the data to the Excel sheet. First, what we have to do is, so till reading the till sheet, we are at the point of sheet we are now. So once the sheet is loaded, we can now create a new row and we can write the data to it. So how we can do that is, we have a method called, so I'm declaring one variable row count, which is equal to sheet dot get last row number. So why we need to get this one? So after the last row only, you need to insert the, you need to write the data, right? So for that reason, I'm getting the last row. Once you get the last row, then you can write the data easily. How we can write is sheet dot create row. First, you need to create a row. Okay. And for this, you need to give the row number. So what I will do is row count plus plus. So first increment this row count and then assign that value. Because see, row count will give you how many number of rows are there. You need to create one more row. So first you need to increment this value and then create a row. That is why I have given pre-increment and gave the row count variable. Once it is done, now creating a row. So row is equal to, first you need to get the row, sheet dot get row of row count. Once you get this row, after creating, now row dot create cell. You need to create individual cell. So column index and cell type. So you have two methods to create a cell. You can give the column index and also the type. You can specify it here. So as of now, I'll use the first method, column index. First is 0 and the value is set cell value. Whatever the type you want, you can use. If you want to insert boolean value, if you want to insert calendar, if you want to insert date, if you want to insert double, so whatever type. So if you want to insert string, so based on your requirement you can use. So for the first one I will use this value string. I will specify some age. Okay, so this is the value. And now in this same row, I want to create one more cell. Create cell at index 1 with the value, set cell value. So here I'll insert some numeric value. Let me insert the age as 25. We have two cells, right? We have two cells. Each and every row, we have two columns. Let me Okay, two columns we have. The first one is age and first one is name and second one is age. So name will be a string and age will be a numeric value. So I have given, so this column will be at 0th index. This is the first index, right? So the same thing I have done here. So create a cell at index 0 and set its value to this one, AGH. For the same row, you are creating one more cell at index 1 and you are setting the value to 25. These are the two things that you need to do. So you are done with cell. Now you need to send this to file output stream. So what I will do, FO is equal to file output stream. FO is equal to new file output stream of this path. Okay, file output stream is ready. And now workbook dot, you write everything to the workbook. Yes. So here, let me handle the exceptions here. Okay. So we have created the cells. We have created a row. We have created cells. Now we need to write it to file output stream, and this file output stream we need to write it to the workbook. So it will be completely saved in the workbook. It will be saved in the workbook. So this is how you need to write the code for writing some data to the Excel. So instead of giving this index as 0 or 1, you can take one more variable like int column count. You can take this one, initialize it to 0. And here you can give like this column count plus plus. Here you can give column count plus plus like this. Okay. So you can use the variable also for column count. When the maximum value you can set for column count, you can get the maximum value for column count as sheet dot get column, last column, I think. Last, no, column. There is some method which you can use. For getting the number of columns also, you have a method. Mhm. One second. First row number, last left column. Yeah. First you need to get the row, then only you can get the column. So 1 second, let me show you. So let initialize it to 0. Get last row number. So you are getting the row here, right? Once you get the row, you can get last cell number. So this is how you can get a last cell value. So you can write a limit here. So from 0, you can navigate till last cell number value. So this method will return you number of cells present in that particular row. Number of cells present in that particular row. Okay. So using this variable get last cell value, it will return number of cells present in that particular row. And now you can use for loop and you can create cells and you can assign the values like this. Whatever you want, you can do it. So this is how you can get the cell values and you can write the data. So remember one thing, if you are writing some data to the Excel, make sure that your file is closed. It is not opened anywhere. If it is opened, it will throw an exception like you cannot read to the file because it is already opened and it is being edited. It is being modified. So whenever you are adding something, you make sure that the file is closed. Okay. Now let's run this program. So what we are doing here, first we are calling the write data method and then we are calling the read data method. So write data method will write this information to this workbook and it will save it. The read data will read the data and it will print the latest added data information also. Okay, so now let me run this program. See, it added the AGH 25 and in read data, it is reading that information also. Okay, clear all of you. If you don't want this header, if you don't want this header and you want just this information only, so you can ignore the first row. You can ignore the first row like exa dot next. You can create it. Okay, here. So first row will be ignored. From the second row, it will start printing. Let us run it again. See, first row is so every time we are calling this write data, right? So every time it will be keep on adding these values. There is, as we are not changing anything here, so it will keep on adding the same value. So when we use the write data generally is the right data, when we will use this method, when we will try to write something to the Excel is, suppose for this test scenario, first this test scenario, if the test case is passed or failed, if you want to update, so here I will create one more cell here saying that test result. For this test case, if it is passed, I'll update the status here. For this one, it is failed. I'll update the status here. So generally, we use this Excel sheet, writing the data to Excel sheet to update the status, whether the test case is passed or failed. But updating this status only, we try to use writing this thing to Excel. Writing data to Excel we use in this scenario only. So every time we will based on the status of the test case, we will be adding whether the test case is passed or failed. Only that thing we will be doing. As of now, whenever you call this write data, it will add the same repeated data. Okay. So now this is how we can read the data and write the data. We are writing here once complete row. If you want to add something to the column, at the last column, if you want to add anything, for that also you can write one method. There, what you have to do is uh, you have to get the last column of that particular row. Read each and every row, and you have to get the last column count, and at the last column count you need to set the cell value as either passed or failed. So if you want to add, so this is for creating a row. If you want to add a column also, sheet dot get row, no need to create a row here. So instead of creating a new row, you can comment this part, don't create a row. You use a loop here, use a for loop or int I is equal to 0, I less than uh, row count I plus plus. Okay. So I plus plus, in this you can get the row. Let me show you. So get row of I. Okay. So if you don't want to update anything for headers, you can start your index from 1. So you will get that row. Once you get that row, you need to get the column, right? So for that, column number, get row dot get last cell value. This will be an integer. Okay. Once you get this last cell, you have to create a cell like this. Column number, column number, sorry, column number. First increment it and then you can add it here. Pre-increment and set cell value either to pass or fail. Based on the test result, you can add this one. You can remove all these things. These 3 lines you can remove. Okay, this is how you create a new column. You can create a new column. So let me run this one and show you. Null point cannot invoke creates because start row is null. Just a second. Let me close this sheet. We have 5 rows. So integer I is equal to get row dot get row of I and then get list cell number. Okay. Sheet dot get row of I dot create cell plus plus column number and then set cell value to pass. Let me try this one. Yes. If you see this one, it has added pass, pass, pass. As we have given less than row count, so it has printed only till that. If I use less than or equal to, let me save this one and run it again. So this time, let me modify it to fail. Run as Java application. It has update. Every time it will update 1111. Every time it will be keep on updating one by one like this. Okay. Now, this is how you can create a new column. We remove all the additional data. Open with system editor. Now run this one. All this column information, let me remove. And let me remove this thing also. Okay, sorry for that. Let me close this without saving. I'll open it from here and save it. This is users. um, in resources, you have this file. Let me open with the office. Let me remove all this data. I'll remove this data as well. Let me save it. And now let me run this program. Java application. See, the data is fine now. So this is how you add columns. So for adding rows also, I'll create, previously we have seen. So let me create that as well. Just a second. I have updated in the same thing. Okay, let me update this to cell data. This is cell data. If you want to write to row, write data. No need of this one. So these two things we will copy it, and then sheet dot create row, row number, row count, plus plus. So previous we need to add plus plus. This one. Then once the row is created, um, sheet dot get row of row count, which will be assigning it to this one. And now what we have to do, row dot create cell at zeroth index dot set cell value. Okay, I will use this as something, whatever you want, you can use it here. Row dot create cell column index 1 dot set cell value. So this time I want the number, so 56, something like this. And finally, you want to push everything to file output stream and then to workbook. So this is how we can do it. And now let me add this rows. Okay, this is how you write data to the you create new rows, and this is how you create new columns. You can write data to column, you can write data at the you can create new rows. So this is how you can create it. Okay, clear all of you? Is it clear? So now let me run this program and show you. So first it read the data. First it wrote the column, row AGH 56. It wrote this data, and after that it is writing the column. It is writing to the column. So before running this, let me remove this things. Sorry for that. First I'll remove this data, and then we will run finally. So as of now, this is the basic data that we have. Save it. Now close this one. Now if I want to run it, let me close this as well, everything. Now let me run it. Why it is writing like that? I think some cell value we might have missed. Just a second. 100 kilograms. Yeah, there was some white space, so that is why it went like that. Let me white is printing in column. Just save it. Yes. Oh, um, let me use just column only instead of column only. Hmm. This one, let me remove this one. White is taking the port one as invalid cell type. Me just a second. Delete. Row thing, I made some mistake. Let me check create row count plus plus. Okay, let me remove this. Run as, yeah, now it is working fine. So no need of using plus plus. If you are taking the row count, yes, get last row number means it is taking the last row only. So this is how you write rows and columns in your Excel sheet, and how you can read the data from your Excel sheet. Is it clear, all of you? So using this method, write data, we are writing a new row to the Excel sheet. Using this write cell data method, we are writing new column to the Excel sheet, new column to the Excel sheet. And using the read data method, we are reading the data from the Excel sheet. If you don't want to read the headers, you can use this one. If you want the headers also, you can comment this one. Okay. So this is how we read and write the data to the Excel sheet. Is it clear, all of you? So as of now, I have given some hard coded data, hard code values I have given. But when you are working in real time, you can give the dynamic values, whatever you are getting the output of something. If you want to pass it to the Excel sheet, so that you can give. As of now, I have a hard coded. I have given some values here, random values, but here in your case, when you're working in real time, you can give the dynamic values. You can get the status of the test case directly, and you can print it here, so that we will see when we are working with frameworks. So from framework, when we are discussing the concept of frameworks, we will see how to get the status of the test case and how we can write and everything. We will see it there. But as of now, so this is so I just gave some hard coded values, some default value, random values I picked and I gave it. Going forward, when we are working with frameworks, we'll see in detail how we can get the dynamic values and we can pass it and write the data to the Excel sheet. Okay. So this is how this is about the Excel, how to read the data from external source Excel sheet. Any doubts in this one? Practice this one. As of now, it will be confused only. So practice this once, then it will be clear for you. So if you don't have any doubts, we can wind up. Otherwise, yes. Okay. Thank you all. We'll meet in the next session.